the top and silly, and yet still pretty awesome, like something right out of Black Butler. Wow, I can't wait to see what else they do with this great villain throughout the entire series. Did I just jinx myself?
Cloudy day, so it would be hard to spot them, but Hikaru's grandfather still caught a quick glance.
Yeah, aside from the Big G, this is a very underwhelming summer blockbuster season, isn't it?
They made their way to a familiar-looking rainbow-colored planet that Hikaru complimented as being pretty, but all I could think while looking at it compared to Lala's ship is...
Let's go down and check her out! Oh, I thought it was further away.
But yeah, unsurprisingly, this was the planet Rainbow that had been hinted at ever since Blue Cat's first appearance back in episode 15. And in spite of learning about its fate in that same episode, everyone except Lala was surprised to discover it was a desolate wasteland and its inhabitants were frozen in stone. I guess the recent trend of switching between plot relevant and filler episodes kinda threw them off a little bit. Also, the planet's inhabitants were all cat people. I'm willing to bet that's going to be a tad bit relevant later. Meanwhile,
Sure those aren't the Dragon Balls?
she and Bakuyan made their way to the planet. On said planet, Lala's pen, especially the animators, seriously, I think they cut a few corners this week. They discovered it was merely a hologram. Inside of the fake cliff, they found some familiar looking treasures, and thankfully they didn't forget details from a couple of episodes back. This was obviously Blue Cat's hideout, and amongst their treasures were Lala, an opportunity to show off her skills aside from just relying on the Dark Pen, used a stereotypical alien gun. During a beam battle, it detected a star pen on it, and when the inhabitants refused to hand it over, she tried using a prototype Dark Pen that ended up malfunctioning on her and unleashed a gas that spread across the entire planet and petrified everyone.
So, the one time this character actually succeeded at doing something truly destructive and evil, it was by complete accident. Yep, I would expect nothing less from this annoying as all hell Valley Girl.
Well, anyway, she also revealed that the reason many of the planet's treasures began circulating in auctions was because she was the one who originally sold them all to finance her research. Well, at least she's a financially savvy Valley Girl scientist. God, that's an odd combination for her. Dispatching Prutsu, come on dude, you can do better than that. She was going to use Fua to summon a Noter.
Wow, this villain is great. He keeps a level head and that annoying I-1 in her place. Boy, I can't wait to see what else he does throughout this series, and you know what, let's just drop the act. I mean, I've already written the script and everything, so let's just cut to the big reveal of this episode.
As after Hikaru seemed to pick up on it by just looking into his eyes, Fua did indeed confirm a familiar smell coming off the cat butler.
Okay, so I'm of two minds about this. One, this is actually a really good twist.
It's genuinely surprising if you didn't read the spoilers, and yet it was more than adequately foreshadowed with Bakuyan subtly manipulating the villains and supporting our heroines. And of course, there was the easy to miss and yet kind of obvious hints of him not appearing during Blue Cat's first appearance, and vice.
But because of this, villain factions in all Precure.
Bakuyan came off as the smartest and most fascinating of the villains. He seemed to be ahead of the curve and possibly had his own agenda.
I would have loved to see this character try and even pull off a successful Starscream, but alas, it was all a lie.
Without him, the villains just aren't that much of a threat anymore. I mean, they've had one significant victory against our heroines, but even that's starting to feel a little villains anymore.
You know, at this point, can Murayama just do what he did in Mahotsukai and switch out to a new faction already? No guarantee it's gonna work or anything, but at least it would get some kind of pop out of me.
To believe Bakuyan would betray her, and thought that Blue Cat had merely switched places with him, but nope, to the disappointment of all of us, he never existed and was merely the creation of the last surviving inhabitant of Planet Rainbow. Seriously, why did it take this long to give this character at least one endearing trait? This wasn't helped by Blue Cat somewhat egging her on, resulting in I-1 trying something new.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, apparently the Dark Pen can even work on petrified victims. Well, okay, to be fair, they do discuss later in the episode that they likely still had functioning brains. while having lost all control over their bodies. And
That escalated quickly.
you know what, let's not discuss the fridge horror of all of this more than necessary. Honestly, I'm just surprised this thing wasn't stronger because of its victim's despair, negativity attack, giving her time for her big speech moment of the episode, because this is her Star Pen episode, and again, let's face it, she's the real main character of this show. Blue Cat then used a flash bomb to stun both I-1 and her monster. She ended up dropping both pens, allowing Hikaru and Lala to recover them. Lala got her new Gemini pen, and finally, Hikaru got the Virgo pen. It made more sense to not have I-1 shout, and instead just have the Ultra Rager's pickaxe cut her off at the last second. Well, anyway, our true main character used her new Star Pen attack, which was nowhere near as impressive as freaking lions, but still better than barely visible zodiac signs, and they finished it off with the Southern Cross. I-1 retreated, but her victim was still encased in stone. The Precure of course did their usual ritual of restoring the Star Princess, or princesses, since this was the Gemini.
So technically, doesn't that mean there's actually 13?
The Starpeds and Fua.
While this episode on its own is actually quite good, with a great twist and even some interesting developments for I-1 of all characters, it also does kind of highlight a major flaw of the season so far: its villains.
Considering it's right in the next episode preview, I don't think I'm spoiling anything when I say Kira actually makes for an interesting variation on the whole initially evil Six Ranger trope, as Bakuyan / Blue Cat was never evil from the start. Maybe a little morally gray as we saw by the end of this episode, but never malicious. Thus, as a twist, it made for some very interesting, and I could help but feel a little bad for her, especially after Blue Cat rubbed salt in the wound. Granted, it doesn't justify her sins and total lack of empathy over them, but at least it's something for her character to might be the first general to be eliminated in battle. Which brings me to one of my biggest gripes with this. Don't think they're the worst Precure villain faction ever, but with Bakuyan becoming a non-entity, what do they really have left aside from Capard? Tenjo's characterization has been incredibly inconsistent, I-1 has mostly just been annoying aside from this week, and Gal Ogre maybe Darkness saw through Bakuyan's disguise and not, so hopefully the writing team can use the extra week to come together and sort these guys out.
If you haven't seen it yet, I just posted the third part of my DDPC review. It covers the third core of this series, including a whole arc that Saban skipped. Yeah, don't think I'm not still salty about that. Enjoy it, and look forward to the fourth and final part coming soon. And until then, though, farewell for now. Goodbye, sweet prince. Was that overdramatic? I feel like I kind of overdid it there.